We would like to thank you for the honor of joining us at the Academy for Cultural Diplomacy here in Berlin. We would like to ask you a series of questions in order to hear your thoughts and opinions on some salient issues. Right now we're in Berlin. It's an important city in the EU, European Union. So I want to ask you a question about the European Union. What are the current major challenges of the EU, in your opinion?
Well, I think thank you. Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity of having been here and participating in what was a very, I'd say, enriching discussion with the different participants and for the initiative. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'd say that the main challenges, and when you're asked the question, the first thing that naturally comes to mind is the war in Ukraine, and how are we going to address this, more than a challenge, this threat, because it is a threat, an immediate threat, because of the war, the conflict, and the social, political, and economic implications that this will have. And I venture to say even environmental implications, because of the water issue and what we've seen just yesterday and this past week. But this is, of course, something that Europe will have to address together with others in the international space, the multilateral space. This leads me then to another major challenge, and that is how to do this in the midst of these geopolitical tensions that we know that exist, and that are the solution for which is not dependent on any one country, on any one region, or even on any two countries. It is a puzzle, it is a Tetris that has to be solved, and how is that going to be addressed? So we go sort of from the immediacy of a war, a conflict, an aggression, and then expand to what are, on the one hand, the causes, but also the consequences of this conflict and the war. And obviously, I have to say, because of the organization that I'm representing here today, which is the Club of Madrid, I have to say that all of this is also an evident threat to democracy and to unity in Europe and in the European Union space. Because even though democracy is I'd say one of the foundational elements of the European Union, and of what brings and what has brought these 27 nations together, it is also one that is fragile, and it's fragile as it is anywhere else. And it has to be protected, it has to be defended, and we all have to be conscious of this, at least all of us that live in Europe. Thank you.
Nice answer. So leaving the conflict between Ukraine and Russia aside, and also the European Union, I would ask you, as a senior politician, what is your message for the future generation and young leaders?
First, I have to say, Irene, that I'm not a politician. I work with politicians, and I think that's important. So my answer is going to come from that perspective, and somebody who has the privilege of working with many democratic politicians. And here I'd say that for the younger generation, the first thing I'd say is to stand up, to speak out, but to engage, and to do that from a position of knowledge. I mean, I think it is important. We were just listening to a very interesting presentation about sense and sensibility. It is important to be sensible, and in order to be sensible, one has to have the tools with which to be sensible. So I think that if for those that have the privilege of having an education, that is the first thing that has to be valued and used. But also, I think the younger generation has to be open to real dialogue with the older generation, or with the seniors. It is important. I feel that for many years, and I have also been a part of this, we have been advocating for greater inclusion for youth. I think, yes, greater inclusion is an absolute necessity, and participation of youth in public affairs, in political affairs, in social issues, and in our economies. That's essential. But it is also essential to remember that on the one hand, those that came before you fought a lot so that you could achieve what you now are able to achieve, and give them credit, number one. Number two, engage with them to learn from them. And not in a position of inferiority, I'm not saying that. Engage with them to listen, to have different views, and maybe even to be critical, but to be able to really have a conversation that would allow you to do whatever you choose to do in life. And believe me, you have a heck of a lot more opportunities than we ever did. But to be able to do so in the best way possible for you as an individual, but for you as an important member of your society, which you all are, as we all are.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's true. So thank you for your time. It was an honor and a privilege to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you very much. It was an honor and a privilege to be with the two of you and to have had you at my side from the very first day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.